Please consider becoming a patron of That Taxi Podcast through Podbean. We've got exclusive content and cool swag for you. Here are some of the testimonials from satisfied patrons.
I became a patron on Podbean and won the Powerball and the Mega Millions and the Irish Sweepstakes.
I became a patron on Podbean and I got great news from Maury Povich. You are not the father. I became a patron on Podbean and it was the biggest contribution, the best contribution ever made. And then you idiots elected me as your president. Like I became a patron on Podbean and solved the mystery of the missing stickers and I got some weed.
And I got Scooby Snacks. Results not typical.
Results not likely.
Consult your doctor before joining Patreon.
Tell your doctor if you are pregnant or plan to become pregnant.
Other common side effects may include uncontrollable laughter,
Explosive diarrhea,
feelings of superiority,
perpetual dizziness,
rare but possible side effects may include spontaneous combustion,
spontaneous erections,
spontaneous paralysis,
spontaneous spontaneity,
spontaneous death,
and impulsiveness.
See your doctor if your erection lasts more than 4 weeks.
You mean 4 hours?
4 weeks!
In today's episode of That Taxi Podcast.
So she talked me into taking her back up toward the last gas station we had passed. As she's getting out, I go to unload her bags and put it on the sidewalk. She comes back and says, "Who told you to take my bags out?" I said, "Look, I brought you here for free. Your ride is done." She goes, "I didn't say it was done." I said, I told her, "You don't have to say it's done. I say when it's done."
Because I know what it's like. Like, I gave birth to 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it's like they put a doctor in there and they put a nurse in there and like, these are your people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would literally be like, "You're not my nurse. Like, go get me a new nurse because you're a bitch and I'm just good."
Most people don't even know they can do that.
So we came into the coffee shop and I was talking to a couple of other customers. And so I was trying to explain to them what was going on and I'm the only person working. So I was like, "Can you just give me a few seconds? Like, and I'll be with you in a minute." He was like, "No, fuck you." I was like, "Okay, 0 to 100. All right, let's do this."
Welcome to That Taxi Podcast. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Taxi David, author of Too Much to Handle, a series of hilarious cartoons of all the crazy things that happen in and around my taxi.
Thanks for jumping into our cab for a ride along.
Yeah, we've been driving taxi for years, and we love to talk about work.
You mean bitch about work.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Everybody does bitch about work.
We know you'll find this entertaining.
Sure will, because we have a unique point of view as nighttime taxi drivers.
That Taxi Podcast drops every Wednesday on Spotify and wherever else you get this podcast.
Thomas, I think you mean to say wherever you get your podcast.
No, Einstein. I mean wherever they get this podcast. I don't care where they get their other podcasts.
Okay, yes. Okay, well, let's go.
Up we go.
You're getting to be a big boy.
I'm just a kid who's 4. Each day I grow some more. I like exploring. I'm Caillou. So many things to do. Each day is something new. I'll share them with you. I'm Caillou.
Never smoke weed with Willie again. Party's all over before it begins. You pour me a shot of old whiskey, my friend. I'll never smoke weed with Willie again.
Is that about Willie Nelson?
It is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Sung by Toby Keith.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Toby Keith.
Oh.
R.I.P.
Yes, he died.
Was it today?
It was last week.
Okay.
Stomach cancer.
How old was he?
He's pretty young. I think he's actually younger than I am.
You're 69?
I will be 60.
60. Okay.
Wow, you gave him a whole decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
His mom likes it. Rough. Well, hello there, David.
Hello.
And young lady.
Who is this young lady we have with us?
She's naked.
What's... Oh, my God.
We're editing that.
Oh, God. Hi, young lady. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Kristina.
Christina's with us today.
Yes.
Yes. So, we're going to get to Kristina and what she's into and what she does and all about
what you're
her.
Into?
Oh,
We're not going to get that personal.
Thomas, so we had a pregame. It went a little longer than usual, so Thomas
His
may
pregame
have had
went longer
more.
than usual, not ours.
Yeah. So Thomas, real quick, how was your week? How are you?
Oh, my week was very interesting.
I didn't get to see you at all on Super Bowl Sunday, which
That's
was
right, 'cause
yesterday.
I took it off.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Anything interesting other than just staying home and watching?
I did have a call from up north, from across the border. She had
Okay.
crossed the border. I picked her up at the McDonald's up there, and she had 3 very large bags, and one weighed over 100 pounds.
Oh.
But
Was there a person inside?
She wanted to go to
Right.
the rest stop on I-5.
Sketch.
Right.
A rest stop.
Yes. And I wasn't going to question her on it. I thought maybe she had someone coming to pick her up.
Sure, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get there, I pull up, and I say, okay, here we are. And she goes, where's the lobby? And I'm like,
Of the
lobby? There's no lobby. This is a rest area. You know, you can go to the bathroom, or you can go sit on that concrete bench over there.
And look at the information.
Right. And she goes, well, when I looked it up online, there was a lobby. And I said, no, probably not. So she talked me into taking her back up toward the last gas station we had passed, and I was going to drop her off there. As she's getting out, I go to unload her bags and put it on the sidewalk because, you know, I didn't know what her plan was, and it was obviously she was not well aware of what was going on. She goes in to ask them if she could wait inside, and they told her no.
Right.
Well, she comes back and says, who told you to take my bags out? I said, look, you prepaid $45. That was enough to get you to the rest area. I brought you here for free. Your ride is done. She goes, I didn't say it was done. I said, I told her, you don't have to say it's done. I say when it's done. So there was a guy who was listening to all this, and he goes, I'll take her to the truck stop down the road. And she agreed to get in with him and go.
Some stranger.
Yeah, some stranger. Well, she had even said before,
Oh,
I told her,
sketch.
you need to have a plan in place before you call a cab.
And cross the border
Right.
and
She
all
goes,
that.
a plan for what? Getting raped? And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, lady, we're done here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what
Yikes.
Open the door and let them out.
but that was my adventure the other morning.
I was gonna say couldn't really think of anything that I had, but I was sitting actually right here, and there looked like him, but it wasn't. And he walks around this side to come to my window, and I'm like, I was shaking my head. And so he walked back in front, and he opens up his coat, and he pulls out this gallon of Crown Royal, gallon bottle of Crown Royal, going,
Dang.
Like to trade you for a ride?
maybe buy it. Oh no, he didn't need a ride. He wanted money. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
going to sell it to me.
Okay.
And obviously it was stolen from somewhere. And I
Or
thought
he was trying to get consensual. You know what I'm saying?
he was working towards consent. You're a good-looking guy. Want a
He was
couple
like,
sips?
hey,
Yeah. I have been solicited before. Well, plenty of times. I think both of us
I
have.
never have.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
I'm not
Eh.
even gonna comment.
Yeah.
Okay. Just don't listen to last week's
So
episode.
how was your week, Christine? Anything interesting, exciting?
My week was interesting, but you know,
Mhm.
death in the family.
Oh, okay.
And,
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, it just grief is interesting because you navigate it, but it kind of does its thing, and you just kind of have to wait it out. But I had canceled a lot of plans, and I decided, you know, like to try to keep doing normal things. And so I did. I went to this estimate appointment for my cleaning business,
Mhm.
and the lady happened to be the funniest lady I've ever
Perfect.
met in my life. And I was like, she's literally an angel, because I could not stop laughing. And it was only supposed to be like a 15 to 20-minute appointment, and I ended up staying for like 2.5 hours, and we just laughed.
Do you think maybe she was just funny because of where you were?
No, it's hard to find people that are funnier than me.
All right.
So
conceited.
she was really, I mean, it's the trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's not me necessarily. It's
It's how
me
you
learning
cope.
how to
It's how
cope
you
with,
cope with
with,
it, yeah.
with a lot of things. And she was so funny, and I asked her, I was like, what kind of drama have you been through? Because
sure.
you're fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, girl. And I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
You know, in the movie industry, they say if you want to have a party, don't invite comedians, because they are the most dark, hurt, angry people. And that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
they're funny. They know how
Yeah.
to touch that part of people, you know. I mean, metaphorically. So yeah, humor is a big coping mechanism for some people.
It is, you
Yeah.
know, and I feel like it masks a lot of darkness. I knew, like, when I started my healing journey, about 2 years into therapy, and I almost quit because I was like, I'm not funny anymore. Like I feel like because I was trying so hard to really address the issues that I was making fun of.
Right.
And then once I got to this point, like, okay, well now I'm not funny anymore. Like I don't feel like we're kind of trauma bonding through our humor.
That's a nice segue into why you're here. Initially, it's because you have a music video coming out.
Yes.
We're not quite to Valentine's Day, the day of this recording, but on Valentine's Day, she has a new video coming out. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but also a big part of your life is advocacy.
Yes.
So tell me, us, everyone in the whole wide world,
all 65 of us.
what are you involved in? What's that all about?
Well, advocacy for me it's more of a mindset. It's more of a way of life. It's being able to sit with people in places and spaces that you've had to learn how to sit with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to be a voice for somebody who can't advocate for themselves.
Right.
They're not really sure what to do. They're not really sure the steps to take and whatever it is that they're experiencing. And they always say, to be who you needed.
Be who you needed when you were in those places. Yeah.
And for me, ever since I was about 14 or 15, after my own experiences in life, I've been advocating for children and, survivors of sexual assault. And so it's always been a person. Like, it's always been a part of who I am. And I think it was really difficult for me for other people to try to, like, steer me in a different direction and be like, you need to stop thinking about the past. But for me, it was a roadmap into somebody else's healing journey as well. So it was more of like taking all that darkness and being able to create a map for others to get out.
How did you get here as an advocate? How did you become an advocate?
So I became an advocate through my own experiences in the community, without actually having that title or that training. This is just who I was. This is what I was already doing, kind of vigilante type work, behind the scenes. And then I decided, like, I've been dealing with my own stuff and I've never really reached out too far from help with my own self. And I went down to domestic violence and sexual assault services, and I just one day was just in a crisis about everything. And I just was like, this is it, like I need to just tell somebody something. But I felt like counselor after counselor, like I just wasn't able to find somebody who had been through so much that they were able to help me navigate what I was going through. So when I found an advocate and just kind of talked about all the experiences that I was experiencing and the way that I was like advocating for the people that had done me wrong, she literally was like, you are just a natural born advocate. Like, you're able to see everything that they're doing and you're able to see where it's coming from. Like, you're able to help people unpack things.
Sure.
And so from there, I kind of like had this idea that I had no idea where I was going to go with it. I know I'm going to help them. And I went through some law enforcement steps.
You thought about being in law enforcement?
Yes, I quit smoking weed for a long time. And
they can't ask you that anymore. That's a new law that changed.
As a cop?
Well,
as a cop, if you're on your off time, whether you drink or smoke weed, they're not allowed to tell you can't. That's a new law. Yeah. Would that have changed things? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Because I think, a lot of reasons changed why I decided not to be a police officer.
Yeah.
One was definitely weed, and the other was just the simple fact that I could do more for people on such a broader scale, not being a police officer.
An officer is
and
just
being
an enforcement
advocate.
thing.
Yeah, so being an advocate, I'm actually
tied to what they can do.
Absolutely. So as an advocate, on my off hours, if you catch me in the bread aisle, like, definitely you want to go, like, I'll throw hands. But as a police officer, I can't, there's just so many more stipulations on that. Restrictions, and me having to, defend myself so many times, and I just don't feel like that would be a more safe job for me than what I'm doing.
Right.
So what kind of advocacy work do you do right now?
I would say I'm mainly more of a sexual assault advocate.
Okay.
I do work with domestic violence. I love to focus on medical advocacy, so for veterans, suicidal veterans and people people experiencing strokes and things like that, and me not feeling like they're getting the support that they need, and me being able to show up as a medical advocate and say, excuse me, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and this is my client now, and blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, oh no, they have an advocate, somebody who's in here that's going to enforce me making sure that they get treated properly.
You mentioned medical advocacy in it, and it's surprising to see how many people are not able to speak for themselves because you, especially in the medical world, you just trust the doctor knows what he's talking about, or the nurses know what they're talking about. It took my former spouse and our youngest son's medical issues to realize you can fire a doctor. You can say, you're not going to be the doctor anymore. We're going to find somebody else who will listen to what we're asking for, and even nurses, if you're in the ER and someone isn't doing right by you, not just not giving you what you need, but doing right by you, you can say, I need another nurse, or I need another emergency room doctor. And they meet with pushback because there's no one there to stick up for them saying, this person has the right for that, so stop badgering them. Yeah. But you mentioned house cleaning. So if you're working with somebody, they may deal with an issue and you end up helping them in that aspect as well.
I've been cleaning for a really long time, and I take a lot of time with my clients to get to know them. I am a veteran-focused business, and their mental health is really important. I feel like they played a vital role in my healing journey. Because I've struggled with a lot of PTSD, I felt like my safe space was more with veterans who had experienced PTSD, and so they were able to help me navigate it as well as not trigger it. And I felt like, wow, if I could bring the same safe space that I've created in this community to other survivors, like what kind of amazing outcome could we bring? And that kind of, I'll kind of lead into doing domestic violence cleans as well. So like, say
what are domestic violence cleans?
So say somebody has experienced a lot of domestic violence and they have left the situation, and they're now, a parent of children, and they're trying to get their mental health stable, and they're just really trying to figure out who they are and their autonomy, and they're just so much pressure and so much mental abuse that it's really difficult for them to do the tasks such as cleaning your house. Like, really, honestly, what they're trying to do at that point is to be a mom and to make it to work so they can afford stuff for their kids. And then when they get home, that cape drops and everything is just like, this is the reality of it. And so being able to have Whatcom Cities in, I could make a post or have veterans that come out there and clean these children and moms' houses, and for the children to see these men coming in and doing these good things in a good mood and very like happy to help, and for the woman to see a man like actually there to support her, and to see community, and to see people building with each other, and for it not to be all over the internet that their house is, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not posting everything. Like, it's very, very discreet.
Yeah.
And to be able to see that, and to have the kids come out of the room, after everything is clean, and be like, oh my gosh, it's a whole nother house. And to just know that for the rest of their life, they're going to have that experience.
Yeah.
And it's going to, eventually overshadow the things that they've been through.
Yeah. Your space, if it's cluttered and messy, is somewhat of a representation of your mind, or vice versa. One influences the other. And you can be in a very cluttered place in your mind, and if your space is cluttered, it's really hard to pull yourself out of it because everything around you is that way. So yeah, I can see how just cleaning an apartment, just being in a place where the kitchen and the bathrooms are clean, is helpful and healthy.
Represents a fresh start.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is for us. It's a lot of fresh start. Somebody in the community will come to me and be like, hey, this situation is happening. I told them about your services, and I'll go and I'll sit and I'll have a conversation, and I'll figure out like where they are, because I don't want us to just be coming in and cleaning your house, every 6 months.
Sure.
Like I want to talk with you and be like, okay, do you need an advocate? Do you need somebody that can come in and talk to you, face to face? Do you need somebody to help you through the process? Do you need somebody to help you find, those resources and things that you need? Or are you just like, you have those resources and you're ready for a fresh start, and this is what it is. And most of the time when people are already reaching out, it's because they have already they've already made that decision that like,
and it was a big
I'm
step to reach
focusing
out.
on my mental health,
Yeah.
and it's a huge decision to let somebody come in and see
It's
that.
brave decision, because you are stepping out of your comfort zone.
It's incredibly brave for somebody to be like, look, I need help.
Yeah.
Because once it gets past a certain point, people don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it really takes a professional to come in and just completely clean it from wall to wall, like top to bottom,
so
completely start over. And then it's like, oh my gosh. Like, I've literally had people call me, like, I mean, even a month afterwards, afterward, because I don't really say anything afterwards. I'll check up on somebody and be like, hey, just making sure that you're good. Like, everything is still good. And it's very brief conversations. Like, I don't want to ever, like, intrude on people's lives. So when somebody reaches out to me, like, a month later, and they're just like, I just wanted to tell you, like, my entire life is completely changed.
Do you, and I'm thinking of, like, the medical advocacy, and I guess this would go for either legal advocacy or just someone who could help them get the services they need. Do you meet with resistance from the people that they're going to for help because they feel like you're intruding on it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of feel a little bit undermined, and they feel a little bit challenged. So I would definitely say that I have met a lot of opposition with it, but also being somebody who works at the hospital a lot. They've kind of gotten to understand that I'm coming in the door anyways.
And you probably are making relationships with those people in that industry.
Yeah, because I have absolutely no other plan than to not only advocate for my client, but to teach you
for the next person who comes that may not have an advocate.
Yeah, because you may not know that this person has PTSD, that they have, and so many other different things that they could potentially be going through. But me as an advocate, I've been with these clients for so long, cleaning their houses and all that other stuff, that it's like, okay, so I know my client more than you would know my client. So maybe we should check for X, Y, and Z. And of course, they don't want you to sit there and try to diagnose whatever, because you're not the doctor or you're not the nurse. But it's like, I'm sorry, everybody has WebMD and we've all lived a life.
Oh, they hate that.
They really do. But I've literally sat there and watched them literally look things up on WebMD while we're sitting there trying to have a conversation. Yeah. So it's like, I'm very intuitive when it comes to what somebody's potentially going through. Yeah. Medically, just because I've seen so much. And so I'm able to just kind of like knock some things off the list really quick and be like, okay, but maybe we should focus on this, first.
Well, I mostly hear, when it comes to doctors, well, let's try this or let's try that. And even though that's appreciated, there are some things, like you said, that could be knocked off the list rather quickly if we just look at some stats or some records. But
and when they like to use, let's try, like, my patient's not a guinea pig.
Well, they call it a practice.
Yeah.
Medical practice. They're practicing.
But if I'm sitting here versing you in how much I know my client, like, oh, can we check for a stroke? Oh, okay, so it was a stroke.
Sure. Like, well,
okay, so interesting. Yeah. That's kind of interesting that I would, say that him being kind of incoherent would potentially be a stroke. But see, you don't see the stress that I've seen for the past 3 months.
Are there advocates? Are you able to advocate for somebody who just, maybe they have a typical, I don't want to say typical, but some sort of medical issue that they have to go to the hospital a lot for, or go to a particular doctor a lot for, but just have developed an anxiety about it because they don't feel empowered? Are they able to reach out to an advocate, to find an advocate who will come with them and help them communicate clearly to a doctor? Because even I have been in situations where my doctor will say, well, you're here for this right now. Let's just worry about that. I understand you're dealing with this issue. I'm not too concerned about that, so we can do that in 6 months or whatever, or 3 months when I see you again. And there's a lot of times I feel like, no, I'm literally having a problem like right now, and we're sitting face to face. And even though I understand, a doctor in a family practice medicine, I guess you could say, just has to get this done and then go to the next person. I've got so many people in a day that I've got to deal with. Would an advocate be able to help kind of zero all that down? Or
so an advocate, you don't even have to really be licensed or anything to be an advocate.
You could be someone's mom.
Literally be somebody who has already studied all your symptoms and has already like known you for a while, and you could literally just be like, hey, I need somebody to sit in here, because they're gonna, I don't want to say bully you, but they're gonna like put their superior title over you as the patient, and be like, yeah, well, these are the standards, these are the rules, this is blah blah blah,
and this is what we commonly do for situations when it comes
and
across
then
our path.
basically just kind of like blow you off.
Yeah, they want to get done.
And so having,
that's what I sense anyway,
like something, someone who is passionate about, you getting the services that you need. But I mean, they're out there. I mean, I haven't really met too many of us.
Yeah.
But being a natural born advocate, I don't mind advocating for people in any situation. So if I'm just like, any of my friends, like if they're going to a doctor's appointment, like some of them will be like, hey, can you just go with me?
Yeah, exactly.
I have zero problem speaking
That's
out.
exactly
zero problem.
What I was
Even when I was like, because I know what it's like. Like, I gave birth to 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, they put a doctor in there and they put a nurse in there and like, these are your people. Mm-hmm. And I would literally be like, you're not my nurse. Like, go get me a new nurse because you're a bitch and I'm just good. Mm-hmm. And I'm really nice to people. I'm a bitch,
you're a bitch, but you can't be in here if I'm a bitch.
The thing is that like, it's my personal like experience. Yes. I'm bringing my baby into the world. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I mean, they've told me horror stories about their nurses and their doctors or people that have just been horrible. And I'm like, no, I kick them out of the room before that ever gets to that point.
Most people don't even know they can do that.
And I think that comes with me learning through life, like how to set some hard boundaries with people, and how to advocate for myself. And so I think it's important that people learn how to advocate for themselves, like even before like reaching out to an advocate. Like how can we learn how to advocate for ourselves? How can we learn how to be that strong voice that we need to in times when we don't feel like that?
Yeah.
Like it's pushing through that and being like, you know what? No. Being assertive, being like, sorry, but I'm standing right here and I'm not leaving until X, Y, and Z. Like not being a bitch about it, but just straight up, I'm sorry, but I know
because otherwise you're Karen,
I'm
right?
a human being and you're not treating me like one. And that's the thing is like, we're not like going over the top or anything like that, like acting out, screaming, yelling, anything extra like that. We're literally just standing our ground as human beings and being like, I'm sorry, but like you're the one who went to school to get the title. I have to come to you. Yeah. And I need this help. And you're running me around in circles and I'm not feeling like I'm getting the support that I need. Right. And don't get offended if I say that, because we all, as business owners, get feedback from people.
We get quote unquote feedback in our job.
We get lots of feedback. So it's like either you graciously accept the feedback and you make different choices to act on behalf of your patient, or you're just doing it for money. Mm-hmm. And you went to school for a title to be cool. And that's literally what it is. I mean, I grew up watching and reading, like Dr. Quinn, the medicine woman. Like those are the types of things that I grew up, listening to. And it's like they actually have a heart for people. Like they just can't even breathe without, all of their patients being 100%.
Do you feel like you would have seen it differently if you hadn't been watching Dr. Medicine Women, but you were watching, say, House? Would you have maybe seen the industry differently?
I mean, if you look at this generation and how they view things, then maybe. Probably.
Yeah. That's interesting that you brought up Medicine Woman, because it was a very compassionate show. Yeah. And House is more of a...
Well, he's a prick.
Yeah, but not just that he's a prick. He lacked compassion, but he got the job done, right? And complete not Medicine Woman. She showed compassion and got the job done. How fucking fascinating is that?
Yeah, just the really the power of the empathetic feminine is something else. It really is.
Did you have any questions? No. So you mentioned earlier that someone commented that you advocate even for people that probably don't deserve it. And there was a story, and when we were pre-gaming, you were starting to tell us a story about a guy who was harassing you in the coffee shop that you ran at the time. What was that experience like?
So we came into the coffee shop and I was talking to a couple of other customers and, we had great coffee to offer, and we had like the movie playing of like everything that the whole coffee farm was about. And so I was trying to explain to them what was going on, and I'm the only person working. So I was like, can you just give me a few seconds? Like, and I'll be with you in a minute. He was like, no, fuck you. And I was like, okay, 0 to 100. All right, let's do this. And I mean, he was wearing shorts and fucking flip flops. So I have no idea what he thought was going to happen. But either way.
Chasing you would be hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I was wearing heels. I was wearing heels that day too. So, I mean, I'm dressed fancy, looking like I'm not going to hurt nobody.
Yeah.
And, so I mean, that's probably why he did what he did. But either way, so that happened, and I was like, okay, well, I opened the door since I was standing next to it, and I was like, well, now you can leave because I'm not going to serve you, because it's just, I'm just not going to have that. He's like, no, fuck you, I'm going to blow this place up. Okay, so I shut the door, and I was like, well, actually, that's not what's going to happen. You're going to sit your ass down, and you're going to wait to be trespassed because I'm calling the police, and you better keep your hands to yourself until they get here. And of course, that's trigger. Not, it literally, as soon as I said it, I was like, okay, well, he's not going to fucking do that. Yeah. And so he shoved me up against the door really hard. And then that was the opportunity I was looking for my whole life, Every ounce of trauma was like, oh, okay, you wanted that? Finally, somebody's asking for it. Like, everyone else just kind of wants to, say things. But for him, I was like, oh, we've taken action. Okay.
Yeah.
So, he broke his face, opened the door and threw him outside.
Yeah.
I mean, things just continued to escalate, from there on his end.
Yeah.
Earning him a few more.
But I mean, you tried to dissuade him, and he persisted.
Yes, so, I was very much like being the calm person, and I think from being a bouncer too, and doing some Muay Thai, I just kind of let people do their own raging thing and stay in their own energy, and I just try to stay in mine.
True, because
there's a lot of people trying to get in your head. Yeah, because honestly, that's what it. From the second his "fuck you" had nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
I was just some
you
cute
just
little coffee girl that he just decided to have a problem with.
Yeah,
and I was the wrong person.
Yeah,
and he found out.
Well, it turned out it was the right person if you helped him.
I just felt the need to really pursue this as a case of justice. Usually I'd be like, I just don't want to deal with this. Just let the courts decide. But with this situation, I was like, you know what? No, because I just lost everything that I built.
Yeah.
But this was my dream job. This was my dream position. I was going places with it. I have a whole menu I created.
Right.
I had an entire community of people that were like, oh my gosh, this was so amazing.
You were part of this business. It was you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for, opening this during the time that we needed it the most. COVID was a time when, a lot of people were separated, and the coffee shop was something that brought so many people together, and the conversations that people would have was just so amazing, and just literally everything a community would be. And so I felt like even though I couldn't be there anymore for my customer safety, I could still advocate in the streets, and so I went out there and pursued justice with this situation and continued going to court dates. Every time he would go to jail, he would be released the next day. We have a problem, and we can't feel safe out in the streets, and I can't go get another job because I might get stalked there too.
Yeah.
It used to be that somebody was deemed incompetent for court once a year. Yeah. And now it's happening
That's
20
common,
times a month.
Yeah.
So now all these poor victims here in town are sitting here with their perpetrators and nobody's doing anything. Yeah. And so that kind of, empowered a decision to fight not only just for, me, but proper justice. This man needs help. So he needs to be able to be evaluated. You're denying him
the
opportunity to get the help that he needs. Yeah. And so I was able to turn the situation into something where he was the very first person that my prosecuting attorney had seen actually be pushed into getting the help that he needs, because they had already denied, and they were just going to dismiss the whole case. I was like, I was not having it.
Yeah, because you're going to see him
I
again.
Called everybody, and I was like, let me just tell you who I am, what's about to go down. And so they ended up putting him through everything that he needed to go through, his evaluations, and getting that support that he needed. And they ended up deeming him competent for a court. So he was able to show up, and he was able to, do what he needed to do in the courtroom, and that just shows too, as far as my advocacy goes.
Yeah,
That's
to a guy who
literally
probably
just how
didn't
I
deserve it,
think.
but you helped him.
Yeah.
But you're right. Get it. The person just being shoved back out on the street is not helpful to a community.
No, and I think regardless of whether I helped him or not, he'll think twice about just thinking that some girl is just some girl.
Hopefully. There's a lot of people who just don't learn that
I
lesson.
laid him out pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I figure I would always get one hit in before I would get destroyed. I'd get one good pop. Maybe in the nuts.
I always let them, hit first. I'm not going to jail.
Yeah, right.
So I always let everybody do their thing
first.
first.
So.
Yeah.
Because I'm confident.
Yeah.
I'm confident in the fact that
Yeah. Well, Kristina, it was a joy having you here, and the reason I knew her was because she requested one of my books, the cartoon book, Taxi David, Too Much to Handle, to be in the coffee shop. Yeah.
Yes, and people loved it.
Yes.
Some people loved it. Some people were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Uh-huh.
But people were stealing it.
Yeah, that made me happy. And then she messaged me so sad. So I'm so sorry, but it was stolen. I couldn't be more happy.
Right.
That my stuff is.
Your response was so
Yes.
I was shocked.
Yes.
I was like, oh no. Like,
yes. Oh, she's trying to get a second book. No, that is wonderful that somebody stole the book. My shit was valuable enough that somebody wanted to take it.
Not just once, like 3
Yeah,
different times.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it
That
got
makes me
stolen by
happy.
3 different people, and
Makes me happy.
yeah, honestly.
I've had lighters stolen, but I wasn't happy about it.
No, right, exactly.
Yeah, but this was his art, Somebody's
Yeah.
taking that home.
Someone said, "Holy shit, I like this. I want
It's
this."
their new, what is it, Uncle John's bathroom reader? Is that
Yeah,
what it is? That's their new bathroom reader. So
I've
we
encouraged
had it in the
people to do
bathroom
that,
as well. So.
Yep. I encourage
because
people
it's
to
like
put
one
the
of
book
those
in the
things where
bathroom.
you don't need to follow the whole book. Like you can
Right.
literally just open it up to one page
It's like your Garfield.
and get your little
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on. You've always had interesting stories. I follow you on Facebook, about your advocacy, and that was something that was very interesting. So I'm glad we got an opportunity to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things you mentioned when you came on is that you have a music video that's dropping. The song is already out. What was the name of the song?
Rubber Band War.
Rubber Band War. And the music video for that comes out in just on 2 days.
Yeah.
So
2 days.
on Valentine's Day.
Which will be 2 weeks ago when you hear this episode.
Yeah. So check it out, Rubber Band War, and that'll be on YouTube, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it'll be on Vivo probably by the time this drops. It takes a little bit longer to get on Vivo.
Okay.
There's a few places that it will be. I don't really remember where.
Yeah. What is Rubber Band Wars about?
So I was sitting there with Zach Garner at the Sound Kitchen, just kind of coming up with a bunch of different things. And, he was on his guitar hitting something. We were trying to find something acoustic. And he just hit this beautiful, gorgeous little riff. And I was like, what is that? I want that. Mm-hmm. And so I just started going through all of my notes, and I found this one little phrase. It just said Rubber Band War. Mm. And I remember it from, like a year prior of like wondering, like, should I go back into this relationship? Should I not? Like, should I stay? What should I do? And it was just kind of felt like I was being torn, like in so many different ways. And so for me, it was like this rubber band war. So that's what I wrote. And that's kind of how it came to life. Just like right there, we just wrote the song on the spot.
Well, very cool. Heard it first here? Probably not.
Any other links you want to mention?
Yeah, any links?
If anyone needs an advocate, where can they go if they think they might need help or an advocate? Or
So Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services has a 24-hour hotline that you can call at any point.
Okay.
The number is 1-877-715-1563.
Okay.
You can also text them. You can call.
At that same number? You can text that number?
You can call them. You can text them. I mean, obviously, if you're in an emergency situation, call 911.
Sure.
And our safe spot is the hospital.
Okay.
So
if you can just find your way to the
So
hospital.
if you could call Taxi David and be like, hey.
I'd be like, who is this? I don't know you. Bye.
I need immediate assistance.
You could say, Kristina says,
yes.
Take me to the hospital. Actually, I would do that.
Right,
If I heard that, I would do that instantly.
I would as well,
Yeah. In fact, because I work on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if something comes across your path genuinely and you think, I need to get this person here, but I'm not available, and it's 1 a.m. and yeah, definitely say, David, I have somebody who needs to go to the hospital. I got you. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, thank you for that, because I was going to kind of bring that up too.
Too easy to do.
And you would get paid for it. So
no. That's
but we
not
are
the thing,
contracted with Yellow Cab as well.
Okay.
So
well,
that's
then,
a contract that
screw those
have.
guys. Never mind. Throw it to
So
Yellow.
I'm just saying, like, I would love to support a more local business,
Yeah.
you know, and to also
Yellow really needs it.
Yeah, and they are local.
Yeah. But yeah, even if, because, they're spread thin at night.
Sure.
As well.
If they can't get to it in time and you think someone needs to get there quicker, you call David or me.
Yeah.
So. Well, that was for me always the plan anyways.
Okay.
I was going to be like, hey.
That's great. I had somebody call
aware?
just for cat food. She didn't know what to do. She was leaving the next morning and she goes, can you just get me some cat food?
Yeah.
My cat, or a cat that she was taking care of in the building. She didn't know whose it was, but she's panicking, and all she could think of was, call David.
Sure.
Can he give me some cat food? Yeah. So definitely.
Superhero over here.
Yeah. So we got that phone number for that. Is there anything, Thomas? You can put these in the show notes, right? So if you're listening and you don't remember what the numbers were, that's fine.
And you don't know how to hit rewind,
but it's all in the show. This will all be in the show notes as well.
Yeah, and my link tree, I think we'll probably put in there as well.
Absolutely,
link tree. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. This guy got a sword. What's he got there?
It's bad, I thought.
You never know out here.
You never know.
I actually was walking around here dressed as Wonder Woman not that long ago, and
you were dressed as Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, I came from a Comic-Con. And
you have
I am Wonder Woman. What are you talking about?
You have a Wonder Woman, same facial structure and everything.
I am Wonder Woman. I don't know why people. But anyways, people were literally like, "Oh my God, she looks like Wonder Woman."
You do, yeah.
Whoa, who is she?
Are you talking about the TV show?
With Linda Carter.
And I actually, because I've been wearing it for so long, and I was just like late for somebody's birthday, that I didn't realize like I was even walking like her. I was like on a fucking mission, and I completely forgot I was wearing Wonder Woman outfit. Nice. Here I am, just gladiatoring my way through.
I always forget that I'm wearing Wonder Woman underwear. But nobody sees that.
I always forget I'm wearing your mom's underwear.
Hey, so Thomas, that leads us into towards the end of the program.
How you doing?
Hey, Vinny.
Yo.
Hey, so you got a joke, Mr. Joker over here?
I have a story about a guy who went into a bar with his monkey. So the guy sits down at the bar, has a drink, his monkey's in there, and all of a sudden the monkey starts going wild, and he reaches over and grabs cherries out of the little bin and eats all the cherries, and reaches in and grabs the limes and runs over to the pool table and starts swallowing a cue ball. He swallows a cue ball, and the bartender's like, hey, you need to take care of your monkey. Look at all this damage he's causing. And the guy sitting at the bar goes, you're right. Here, let me pay for the billiard ball and the fruit and everything. And so they leave. 3 weeks later, the guy comes back in with his monkey. Monkey's in there, starts to go crazy. He reaches over the cherries and he sticks the cherry up his butt, and then he eats it. And then he reaches over and grabs a lime and sticks it up his butt, and then he eats it.
Uh-huh.
And the bartender goes, "That's the same monkey you had last time, right?" And the guy goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, he didn't stick the stuff up his butt before he ate it last time." And the guy goes, "Yeah, well, ever since he passed that fucking pool ball, he checks to make sure it's gonna fit first."
Oh, all right.
So always check the size of whatever you eat.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus Lord, help us.
I guess, that's something to think about.
Well, the monkey learned a lesson, right?
I don't want to think about it. I think I'm good.
I'm never going to eat a billiard ball.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Thank you again, Kristina, for being here.
Good show,
thank you
Toby
so much
Keith.
for having me on here.
Stay positive, kids.
Oh, Toby Keith.
Oh.
Thanks for coming along with us on That Taxi Podcast.
We'll be back next week with a whole new episode, and you can find us on Spotify or wherever you download your podcasts.
Wherever you download this podcast.
Oh, right, sorry.
We want your thoughts, ideas, and feedback on today's episode. So please contact us, and we really do want you to contact us at thattaxipodcast.com, at Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram. See you next week.
See you next week.